a Thursday. A guy that used to have his weekends revolve completely around football. I don't know if you can do that all the time when you're the mayor. Todd Jordan joins us now. Mr. Mayor, Mayor of Tupelo, former quarterback at Mississippi State, so he's been QB1. Mr. Mayor, got a lot of names, a lot of titles.
Good titles, too.
Well, I still spend a lot of Saturdays in front of the TV now. I've got 2 at Mississippi State, but I could really care less to go to a game, especially right now. Now, I know looking in those stands and seeing not a lot of people there is discouraging, but what can you expect right now?
You know, if you want to watch some high-level football, never mind.
Don't you dare.
I won't do that.
Don't you dare.
I
appreciate a politician that tells us it is.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I like watching good football. Doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah. Interesting thing. A lot of good things going on in Tupelo. From a growth standpoint, it's such a vibrant community. There's a lot on your plate, though, isn't there?
You know, people say, do you like being mayor? I said yes, because it's something different every day. It's something different every hour. I've got my schedule going into the day, but that could change. That is what I love the best about being a mayor. The second thing is seeing the growth like you were talking about and being a part of that. Yeah. You know, I mean, I'm the 28th mayor out of 154 years. That's pretty neat, the city of Tupelo. But to be a part of, okay, well, I helped put that together. I was part of that. It really is satisfying. You know, right now we've got construction going on all over the city, downtown. Our signature park out on the west side of town is getting a rebirth. We just, new entrance, new parking lot, just selected the playground designer. We're going to put a $2 million all-inclusive playground.
Very cool.
In the park. So, when I was campaigning, everybody said, well, we don't have anything for kids to do. And our park's getting a little old. Obviously, we have the baseball and soccer aspect, but we needed something for the kids to go do. And $2 million is a lot of money, but when we're finished and see the all ages, all abilities out there, that's what's going to make it special.
Todd, one of the things that stands out to me is the way that downtown has changed over the years. That Fair Park area is so nice, and it's like kind of an epicenter for banks with a couple of really big headquartered buildings there. There is great shopping and good restaurants downtown. And I know you got to go back a little ways, but that was an area that needed a revitalization and has gotten it. And then I feel like as a city, Tupelo has seen the dividends of kind of that investment.
That's right. And, of course, when I was in college, the old downtown mall became the arena. Of course, everybody was like, why are they putting an arena there? But that's kind of what started everything. I actually worked there when I got out of college for a couple of years, and then you saw City Hall being built. And there was a lot of not really everybody agreed on spending the money, but every downtown goes through a change, and the city of Tupelo was going through that change. And when you think about it, that wasn't that long ago. I mean, 30 years ago when that transformation started, and I worked for Tommy Morgan Realtors for 15 years, and I started working for him in 2006. And I said, Tommy, why did you build in downtown Tupelo? Because the Barnes Crossing area was really growing. He said, because in 50 years, downtown Tupelo is still going to be downtown Tupelo. We don't know what's going to be in other parts of the city. And I remember that, and he's right.
Yeah. One of the things that is important when people are looking at moving to an area and they're thinking about raising family there is the school system. And the Tupelo school system is consistently one of the top in the state. I guess it's the biggest high school
it is.
In the entire state. An incredible campus, massive even, but then have figured out a way to kind of make the neighborhood schools work at some of the younger ages. And I know they're proponents and opponents of that particular model, but when you talk about a school district the size of it that you have, there aren't a lot of options beyond kind of that model at the younger grades.
That's right. And, if you built a school today, interior is pretty much going to look like what it did 50 years ago. But the outside of the schools is where I've gotten with the school board and the superintendent said, look, we need to start updating the exterior of our schools because they are in neighborhood districts. And again, the neighborhoods go through a change, so you have to continue to help the revitalization around those schools, because you don't want neighborhoods to fall in school districts, because then the school district does. And proud to say we're third straight A-rated school this year.
I've heard this number in the past. I don't remember what it is, but the population of Tupelo swells during business hours Monday through Friday, and then contracts a little bit as those people go to some of the surrounding communities. I'm sure that's still the case, but is that less the case than maybe it was 10 years ago or 15 years ago?
Well, when I was I was a county supervisor before I was a mayor for a year and a half. So we have about a 75,000 population in Lee County. On any given day, that swells about 150.
So it doubles.
Doubles. On a good shopping weekend, 200 to 250.
Wow.
So we can't house 250,000 people. So we're fortunate on where we are. If you're in Northeast Mississippi, you're going shopping or you're going to eat at a pretty good coming to Tupelo. So they come to Tupelo to work, to eat, to shop, and then they go home to the rural areas, which, look, that's wonderful. If you want to live outside the city, we've got about 37,000 people. We couldn't hold a lot more, to be honest with
you. Yeah. Infrastructure it's a real thing, right? You got to provide electricity and water and sewer and roads and all those things. And when you try to do more than that, I live in a place where about 7 weekends out of the year, it gets real crowded, and you're like, we weren't made to handle this.
It does, and the Barnes Crossing area, of course, you're pretty much landlocked from 45 to the Trace to South Tilla, and then pretty much the I-22 corridor. And on weekends, somebody says, don't go to Barnes Crossing. You can't move. And I'm like, I want to go see how many people are up there, because that's tax dollars coming in our city.
Yeah, yeah.
And you want to see it full. You want to see our restaurants and hotels full on the weekend.
That's like the old Yogi Berra saying, right? Nobody goes there anymore. It's too busy.
Yeah.
So.
Well, come on. We got room for you.
Yeah, I like it. Let's talk football for a second. You mentioned a second ago, obviously, a transition time right now for Mississippi State, for your alma mater, a place that you played in the early 90s. It's hard to go through that. But this is a particularly difficult time when you start looking at it. You're like, okay, what's the roadmap out, right? Because the NIL piece and the transfer portal, and what are former players saying when you guys – obviously it's disappointing where it is right now, but nobody believes it's going to last forever either.
I don't believe so. And, some teams will figure it out quicker than other teams. And I will tell Mississippi State, I will tell Ole Miss fans, when you have something good, appreciate it, because it's probably not going to last like – some of the other teams. And when you look at going through the SEC, before Nick Saban got there, Alabama taking a fall, LSU's, Georgia, they've all gone through a cycle. But Mississippi State and Ole Miss, like in 2014, and now with State in 2014 with Dak, and now Ole Miss, appreciate what you have in the moment, because it may not last very long.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of always been the conversation, right? Like sustainability has been that elusive thing that you're like grabbing for, so that, if there is a fall off, the fall off is to a 7-5 season, not to a season worse than that where you're not in the postseason. When you look at the SEC right now, specifically at quarterback play, what stands out to you?
The quarterback play is kind of going through that athlete cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia seems to always find a pro-style quarterback, whether he's a pro player or not. But that's kind of what they geared after, and there are still plenty out there. So, you've got of course, your Jackson Darts. You have a few elite, and then you've got a lot of mediocre, and then some that just aren't very good. But when you get to 14 teams, you're going to have that drop off. But I would love to see the quarterback play get better, but I think we've gone to I can make an athlete into a quarterback. I don't know if we'll ever see that, okay, I've got 4 or 5 pro-style quarterbacks every year.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. Only a minute left. Favorite memory as a player from your time at Mississippi State? Is there one that stands out?
There's a bunch of them, and some of them are your ones that hurt, and some of them are the ones that good. But I think our 92 team that we really had a really good team that year, had chances to. We were 7-5, but had chances to go 9-2 or something like that, and. unfortunately, we didn't.
There were some injuries at the end of that season.
There were some injuries all through the year, and unfortunately, we hadn't been to a bowl game in a long time, so we had better times and better games.
Understand that.